Imagine leaving your heirs a tax bill so massive, it forces them to sell the family home, the business, the legacy, just to settle up with the IRS. That's not a hypothetical horror story. That's what happens to thousands of estates every single year when the planning wasn't done right. Enter the survivorship life insurance policy, also called joint last to die, the quiet, slightly nerdy cousin at the financial planning family reunion that nobody talks about until suddenly everyone needs it. The concept is elegantly simple. One policy covers two lives, typically spouses, and only pays out when the second person passes away. Here's why that timing matters so much under current federal law. Assets transfer between spouses completely estate tax-free. So the tax hit doesn't actually land until the surviving spouse dies. That means you don't need the death benefit on day one. You need it on day two, which is exactly what this product is engineered to deliver. Now, let's be honest. A few years ago, with the federal estate tax exemption sitting at a historically generous $13.6 million per individual, a lot of advisors were quietly sliding this product to the back of the shelf. Why buy a policy designed to cover an estate tax bill when most estates weren't even close to triggering one? But here's where the plot thickens and the urgency kicks back. And that generous exemption is scheduled to sunset at the end of 2025, potentially dropping back to roughly $5 to $6 million per individual adjusted for inflation. Suddenly, millions of families who thought they were safely under the threshold are doing very nervous math with their accountants. The irony is almost poetic. The people who ignored survivorship policies during the era of sky-high exemptions are now scrambling to underwrite them at older ages and with more complicated health histories. It's like waiting to buy flood insurance until you can hear the water under the door. Critics will say this is a niche product, and they're not entirely wrong. It genuinely isn't for everyone, and you shouldn't let anyone convince you that it is. If your estate is comfortably under the exemption threshold and shows no signs of growth, this tool is probably overkill, like buying a fire suppression system for a tent. But for high net worth families, business owners, real estate investors, those with significant illiquid assets, survivorship policies aren't niche, they're arguably the most cost-effective liquidity solution available. Think about it. You can't exactly sell half a family farm or a 20-unit apartment building in 30 days to cover an estate tax bill without taking a catastrophic haircut. Historically, the families who used these policies wisely did so not out of fear, but out of strategic clarity. They understood the difference between emotional estate planning and mathematical estate planning. The legendary banker and advisor stories all share one theme. The ones who planned with precision slept well. The ones who planned with optimism alone left their kids a mess. A common misconception is that survivorship policies are prohibitively expensive and that one is worth addressing head-on. Because you're insuring two lives and the payout is deferred until the second death, premiums are actually significantly lower than two individual policies, sometimes 30 to 50% less, which is the kind of math that tends to get people's attention real fast. The practical lesson history keeps handing us is this: the best time to lock in insurability and premium rates is when you're younger, healthier, and not yet panicked about a looming legislative cliff. Disciplined families treat estate planning like portfolio rebalancing, not an emergency reaction, but a scheduled, unemotional process tied to life events and tax law changes. Position size matters here too. You're not trying to insure every dollar of potential exposure. You're trying to cover the liquidity gap, the precise shortfall your heirs would face trying to pay taxes without liquidating assets. That discipline, that specificity, is what separates a brilliant estate plan from an expensive overcorrection. At its philosophical core, the survivorship policy debate isn't really about insurance. It's about how seriously you take the idea that wealth preservation is its own form of hard work. The families who built something worth protecting deserve a strategy as deliberate and resilient as the effort it took to build it. Whether Congress extends the exemption, lets it sunset, or rewrites the rules entirely, the families with documented plans, funded strategies, and diversified tools will adapt fastest and lose the least. Comfort with uncertainty isn't resignation, it's the competitive advantage of the prepared. And if you're ready to start building that kind of legacy, whether through real estate investing, home contracting, or connecting with the right lenders. Everything you need to take the next step is linked right below in the description.